So, what have I done on my sketchbook since we last looked? Well, we did this, obviously. And then I did a Walking Dead page, because I've been watching that recently. I'm on season 4. And, very good. Best boy over here. Really liked Michonne's outfit in that episode, and then I just drew Rick in the corner for good measure. None of them are good, and unironically, the baby face is the best face on the page. Have no idea why. But then I drew a lady in a medieval bathtub. The angles are completely wrong, and I'm hoping that I can fix that as I ink it, but the reference was just this. I got it again off of Pinterest, and then I thought, what if medieval lady in bath? Angles are off, I'll fix this. But we're gonna ink it to fix it. I'm not gonna do any more pencil because I got bored of pencil. So what we're gonna do, I got this glass pen, I think during COVID. It's an old pen, and I didn't really get a chance to use it a lot in my art course because I didn't work with ink that much. So, we're just gonna mess around with it now. I'm gonna try out this ink later, the weird ink, but from my experience, this pen doesn't like inks that aren't from the manufacturer. So we're gonna go with this ink, which is very bright red and is gold and shimmery, which I think works out well for our girl over here. This drawing is where the title Embracing Disappointment originally came from. I was really excited to ink it, and I had all of these ideas, but I did not create something that I was really happy with, so I just gave up. I wanted the bottom of the hair to look like it was wet and stuck against her arms and her collarbone, but I couldn't create the effect that I wanted. And the bath I wasn't really happy with, so I just gave up and moved on and disregarded any of the issues that I had previously. So I got out the blue pen, started anew, and worked on some portraits. The issue that I, looking back, have now learned is that I wasn't taking the time to create accurate building blocks. I was just rushing to create something that kind of looked like the reference, but wasn't really the reference at all. Which can be fine. I do enjoy doing that sometimes, but when you're in the mindset of I want to try and create likeness, this cycle of frustration begins to happen. Like with this face, I loved her hair. That's what drew me to this portrait to begin with, because I really wanted to recreate Hobie's hair from Across the Spider-Verse, or at least the style of it, where it's these chunks of hair that are really stylized. Because I was so excited about the hair, I erased the portrait and ignored the basic building blocks just so I could get to the hair, which can be fine. But because I was so distracted about the face not really looking like the reference, if you put them next to each other, you could go, oh yeah, there's some inspiration from that. I ended up using the hair to try and sculpt the face that would, in my head at the time, would make it look more like the reference image, which also detracted away from the poofiness of the hair to begin with. I was not focusing on where all this hair was coming from. I had just laid down a 2D shape. So despite me finding something wrong, I did not find the right thing wrong, so I just kept adding more and more lines, and more was I ignoring the hair itself. I viewed it almost as like a piece of ceramic or a helmet that I could just reshape, rather than something that was organic and growing. In the end, I was happy with this in isolation of the reference image. It wasn't my favorite thing that I've ever drawn, but as a first attempt of the day, I wasn't that upset by it. So when I moved on to another piece, I tried to do the same. I tried to create likeness, but because I was somewhat happy with what I'd done previously and I had not stopped to think, why is this not like the reference, the issue of creating the correct building blocks just got worse. I made the nose way too big for her face, almost as if I took it into Photoshop and clipped out the nose specifically and made it bigger. And this created issue with the jaw and the lips and the size of the neck and the size of the ear. All of these things that would have been fixed had I spent a little bit more time focusing on the actual shapes and how they all worked together, rather than trying to race to create a full finished image like I did here. Once again, I tried to fix the issue by adding more hair, and I was running into the same issue, but this time I was more frustrated because I was more unhappy with the face that I had made. I did learn that I really liked the texture that the Spectrum Noir markers that I have make on this paper. I think I will be using that again in the future. But because I didn't like the piece, it felt like I was just sloppily trying to make it look somewhat good. I was trying to somewhat bring it back, which is something that becomes a big issue, especially for me, when I'm trying to learn how to make a face properly. I can't fix things that aren't right because that's not learning. I'm learning to do something incorrectly. So this is definitely a habit that will be really good to get out of. Because learning that you like markers versus not knowing how to build a face properly, not ideal. It took me doing 2 more drawings after this, the lady on the left and then the lady on the right, to realize I wasn't happy with what I was doing, so I stepped away. And then on Sunday evening, I drew this page. Still wasn't really happy, so I went away, and then Monday morning, I looked at skulls and I looked at muscle structure. Right back to basics. And from here, what I did, I went to Ethan Becker, who was talking about artists like Shin Yun Kim and Jin Kim, stuff like that, and he was talking about making a mask. So I made a mask, made some notes, and then this is the first one that I did. And then I went over to my concept of the week. Not complete, I just did a doodle. I took a reference image and then doodled and worked around that. And then finally, this is some work that I did today, which I'm ultimately a lot happier with, because what I did is Ethan Becker explained that you should have a reference image, make a mask of that reference, which you can see is the pencil line down here, and then sculpt your character around that mask. So the original mask was Morgana from Merlin. And then from there, I looked at Zelda, because I've been playing Legend of Zelda recently, and it doesn't look like her, I know, but I used the red pen to try and get her shape right, and then I used the blue pen to add some details. And I think as a learning practice, I think I'm a lot happier with moving forward with this, because it feels more real than, say, this or these from a few days ago. Taking the time to step back and look at things that I looked at years ago, but just they haven't been at the forefront of my mind, I think is going to improve my progress a lot. While Link and Zelda, what I'm drawing now, are far from perfect, I feel a lot happier in knowing that I thought a little harder about what I was putting down on the page, and doing it almost in layers like you would in a digital format also helped, because I could add on, I could build, which I really enjoy doing. It's like sculpting. It's fun. But yeah, taking the time to step back and learn how to think, which sounds silly, but learning how to think, I think I'm gonna see a lot more improvement. Especially in comparison to what I was doing before, where I wasn't really thinking, I just found an image and I literally just drew it, no thought in my mind. The more processy aspect that I've created for myself, I think is really gonna help me. Here's Link. His face is too long, but here's Link. Here's Zelda. And here's the scar tissue left behind them. I really need to learn not to be so aggressive with my pen work. Oh no. And it's not just this page. If we go back a few more pages, there's scar tissue here. There's scar tissue here. It's everywhere. If you've made it to this point in the video, thank you so much for sticking around. It really does mean a lot, and I know my sketchbook is very far, almost foreign from perfect, but I really hope to get there, and I am still learning. I have a whole year to figure this stuff out. Once again, if you have any recommendations for websites, YouTubers, artists, anything like that, just put them down in the comments and I'll take a really good look at them. I could use all the help and inspiration that I can get right now. I'm also currently in the market for some new fine liners. I was looking at Microns, but if you know of anything else that you really like that is cheap, just let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.